G'day fellas, Aussie Drongo here. We're going to do a tier list on the civilizations that are going to be available to you when Age of Empires 4 releases on the 28th of October. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a good chance that this video is probably coming out after Age of Empires 4 releases, and it's probably still going to be relevant to you, so continue watching if you're interested. You'll see that plenty of people in the Twitch chat right now are saying g'day to you guys, so I hope you be nice to my Twitch guys. They smell a little bit bad because they haven't showered recently, but we still like them. Anyway, we're going to get into a tier list here. We're going to talk about the best civs, the worst civs, or at least why we think they are that way. All right. So getting straight into it, the very first civ that is going to be sitting in the S tier is the Rus. The Rus is, in my opinion, the strongest civilization in the game at the moment. And there's a number of reasons, but we'll try and keep it brief. Number one is they have agency. Agency is the ability to exert power. So a civilization that doesn't have agency would be the Delhi, because they have a lot of bonuses that rely on time or the passage of time for those bonuses to pay off. And so they don't have agency. They kind of have to be a bit more defensive. But the Rus, because of the hunting cabin, they can create scouts in the first age, and as a result, they can use that to harass your villages, your mining camp, your lumber camp if you get unlucky. They can, and they will age up at about 5 minutes, and every single Rus player is going to steal your hunts. Every single one of them. And you have to play around the Rus player. If you've got a plan, right, you're like, okay, I'm going to start the game and I'm going to go for a second town center. Against Rus? Bad. You lost already. You have to play around them. You cannot do your own thing. You have to start the game and be like, okay, I have to play around my Rus enemy and then I can do the things that I want. And that's the reason why the Rus are so damn strong. So just to name a couple of other things as well. So they're scouts in Age 1. They have an absolutely insane a castle age landmark, which is the Abbey of the Trinity of the Abbey. It creates warrior monks and allows you to create them very quickly, and subsequently collect all of the relics. And then once you get into late game, Streltsy are cheap hand cannons that are so strong. They are so incredibly strong. And in the late game, the Rus has a unique upgrade, which enables their Springalds to get extra range. So the Springald has, I think, a range of 10. That gets upgraded to 12 with an upgrade that everyone gets, but the Rus get an upgrade that takes it to 13.5. And so now they have like this crazy combination of Streltsy and Springald, and it's just like, it's so difficult to deal with. It's absolutely crazy. You have to really outplay a Rus player to be able to beat them. But yeah, that is my pick for S tier. For A tier, French. French are an incredibly versatile civilization. French are a civilization that can do anything, and they are very good at anything and everything. So they also have an S tier landmark, which is a landmark that you would take in 99% of the games that you play, and that is the School of Cavalry. The School of Cavalry is great because it gives you two bonuses at the same time. So the first thing is it acts as a stable, but then it also gives you a late game bonus or a mid game bonus in that it reduces the training time that it takes for your cavalry units. So it gives you really two bonuses. Like if you were to look at the English and you look at their council hall, it's a very early game landmark because it's 300 wood, because it works as a double archery range, but it doesn't give you any other real bonus. The School of Cavalry does though. And that's why they're incredibly strong, because they can open cavalry. They can also access the Royal Knight in the second age, which gives them an incredible raiding unit because they can kill villagers and basically just run away. Then they've got a special, unique research that allows them to heal up despite taking all that damage. So very, very strong on that front. They've also got access to the Arbaletria, which is their unique crossbow, which if you haven't seen the Arbaletria, look, it gets a deployable pavis, which is like a shield that gives them +5, I think it's +5 ranged armor, but they also get an upgrade, which is +5 melee armor as well, which is a unique upgrade. So you have these units that are ranged crossbows that have 8 armor, melee and ranged. It's wild how strong they are. And then finally, they've got access to the Royal Culverin in Age 4. So the civilization doesn't have access to the Culverin except in Age 4, they have access to the royal culverin. And so they're just incredible. I forgot to mention the most important point. It's their economic bonus, which scales incredibly well throughout the game. So just to show you a little bit of what that looks like. So if we go and have a look at the French and then go into information for them. So it is faster villager and scout production per age, 10%, 15, 20, and 20%. You don't have to make 2 town centers. You don't have to make, you can just make 1 town center or have 1 town center, and you are going to get this bonus. It is absolute insanity how good that bonus is, because you're always going to be getting it. Incredibly strong civilization. The next civilization is the Abbasid dynasty that are also in A tier. These guys are incredibly strong in the early to mid game. And part of the reason why is because of their camels. So the current meta seems to be that people go for early cavalry, and throughout the mid game and even the late game, they are massing up cavalry. So normally in age games, you would see people using ranged units like archers, skirmishers, musketeers. In Age of Empires 3, something that would be less used, but it was always like these skirmisher type units or archer type units that would be the main component of your army. But in Age of Empires 4, it feels like knights are really, at the moment, very strong in the meta. And the Abbasids are incredibly good at the moment because they're a meta pick in that they counter the civilizations that are strong. So if everyone's playing French and everyone's playing the Rus, which both have access to knights in the Second Age, well then camels are going to naturally be very strong because they counter those things. In addition to that, it's also got the economic wing to age up with, which has got an incredibly strong technology, one of the strongest in the game, fresh foodstuffs, which reduces the cost of villages down from 50 down to 25, and that's part of the reason why I think they are in the A tier. When it comes to their late game is also quite formidable, but their real strength is in that mid-game timing when they can build up a really decent mass of lancers as well as camels, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. So the next civilization that we're going to be talking about is the Mongols. Now, the Mongols are a civilization I wasn't really too sure about exactly where to put them. Whether I go for the B tier or the A tier, I'm not too sure, but at the moment, we'll stick them in the B tier, just because they're a civilization that they can be very difficult to master, but I think that if you're able to take advantage of them, they are incredibly strong. And so one of the things that we saw earlier today was that Doubt was using the Mongols very effectively, creating double traders, and not just any double traders, double cheap traders through the landmark that they've got in Age 1. So that's a really unique use of them. So they're very good on trading maps, but there are some maps that they're I would say that they're not the best on. So maps that are very easy to be walled up, the Mongols aren't the strongest on those maps because they themselves don't have access to walls, they don't have access to castles, keeps, those sorts of things. So it can be a bit difficult to play them and to learn their play style. They're also a very aggressive civilization, but at the same time, there's a lot of trade-offs for it. The Mongols have one of the strongest economies in the game, but I sometimes feel like they're, I don't know, it feels like their mid-game is missing something. I don't know exactly what that is, but at the moment, this is where I perceive their balance to be. It could be a little bit higher than this, as I mentioned. It could be A tier as well, and you know what, I'm probably just going to stick it in A tier just because you know what, I'll leave it in B tier. I'll leave it in B tier. Now, I want to provide the caveat here that we're not going to be talking about water maps. If we were talking about water balance, that's a very different thing. If we were talking about water balance, the Holy Roman Empire would be an S tier civilization. And that's a complex reason why, but we can get into that in another video at another day. But when it comes to the civilization at the moment, in my opinion, they sit in the B tier as well. I think that the civilization has very strong landmarks, in specifically the Regnitz Cathedral is what makes them such a great civilization. So if you can manage to get to Age 3 ahead of your opponent and secure 3 relics with your prelates that you've got access to in the first age, this civilization is going to go absolutely gangbusters with gold. You're going to have so much gold that if you created 13 stables, you could keep all of them producing knights. I think that's right. Maybe it's the other way. Hold on. I think it's anyway. You can like, it's a lot of gold. It is a lot of gold. It's like 1,000 gold or 900 gold a minute. It's absolutely ridiculous how much gold it is. You don't even need to like mine gold anymore. And basically, it means if you ever get to the late game, you're always going to win because you're always going to have a source of gold that's safe. and it's incredible how strong this civilization is. Also got a very solid early game with the prelate. Very good on water maps, which obviously I've talked about. We're not going to mention in this, or not really talk any further about in this video, but very strong.
Thank you very much, pal.
Sharkbait 20 coming in with the prime. Thank you very much, Sharkbait. Very, very sweet of you, mate. Great to see you here. Sharkbait. Ooh-ah. But yeah, so I think that the Holy Roman are sitting at the moment in the B tier. Very solid civ. Men at Arms in the Second Age also feel very good because they are like dynamite to that rock, paper, scissors counter. But yes, that is it. So other B tier civilization is the English. So the English at the moment are a civilization that has got 2 S tier landmarks. So the first one is the Council Hall, which we've talked about earlier, which gives you the double archery range in the early game, which is incredibly strong. The second one is the King's Palace in Age 2, or in Age 3, which is a town center and tech in the same building, and it's incredibly strong. And these enable an English player to be predictable, but at the same time incredibly strong in the early and mid game. But at the same time, they do have a number of weaknesses. So they do lend themselves to being played more defensively, and if you do get caught out of position with the English, you can be very badly punished. So longbows have a slower speed than normal archers. Also, the further that you push out from the base, the less likely you are to have your network of castles upgrade, and subsequently you're going to have a reduced rate of fire on your longbows. So if you do push out and you do get caught off guard, then that can really, it can really hurt. Let's just say that much. But at the moment, I think that the English are a decent pick, a great pick. If you're a new player, either the English or the French are a great civilization to be sticking with. Yeah, I definitely recommend those two. The final 2 civilizations, so the Chinese is a C-tier civilization.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
Endless User coming in with the Prime Gaming. Thank you very much, Endless User. I'm glad that you're here and glad that you're endless. I hope that your viewership here is endless as well. So the Chinese C-tier. The Chinese are a civilization that I don't think have really been worked out yet. I think that they're quite complex, and as a consequence, it means that people are less hesitant to try them, and because people are less hesitant to try them, they haven't been worked out very much. There's only really Boit that I've seen playing them, and myself, I really do enjoy the Chinese.
I want to thank
oh no,
that fellow down under.
It's happening.
Thank you very much, pal.
Inox117, thank you very much for the Prime Gaming, mate. Very, very sweet. But yeah, when people are sort of hesitant to play a civilization because it's complex, it sort of falls on the back foot a little bit because there's a lot of complexity. People don't want to play it, so people don't want to work it out, and then it doesn't get worked out, and so the Chinese are kind of in that spot at the moment. The Chinese are they're a difficult civilization because there is a lot of opportunity cost when it comes to the expenditure of your resources. So what I mean by that is that you have access to build landmarks, multiple landmarks. You can build 2 landmarks in Age 2 and Age 3 and Age 4. And if you do that, then those resources are going towards a landmark, not to units, or not towards further tech or upgrades or something else. And there's an opportunity cost there because you are investing in a landmark which you're not really getting a lot out of. Like if we're honest about like the Imperial Palace, there's really not a lot of bonus that comes in, say, the mid game for the Imperial Palace, but you spend what is it, 1,000 or 2,200 resources on that could very well go into lancers or knights, and it could be doing a lot of damage. So I think that because of their complexity, the optimal way to play them hasn't been found out, and as a result of their not having an optimal way to be played at this point, it means that their power level isn't really super duper high.
Thank you very much, pal.
Admiral Penguin subscribing with the Prime. Thank you very much. Very sweet of you, Admiral Penguin. I think I know your cousin, Rear Admiral Penguin. It's referred to as Emperor Penguin. But yeah, the Chinese are a civilization where it's like, I think I mentioned in that big Boit game that we played that I'd love to see him get Grenadiers out, but at the same time, it's like getting to Grenadiers is so prohibitively expensive. The fact that you have to make 2 Imperial landmarks, it's wild. But obviously, once you get there, if you can get Grenadiers out, like that's game winning. And so, once again, yeah, it's the complexity of the civilization that kind of causes it to be lower on the tier list. And then finally, we've got the Delhi Sultanate. So the Delhi Sultanate are also going to go in C tier, so I'm not going to put them in D tier. And the Delhi Sultanate are in a similar camp to the Chinese.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
Sharky420 coming in with the Prime Gaming. I appreciate it for priming it up. All you guys coming in with the hot primes right now. Very, very kind of you. So with the Delhi Sultanate, they are a complex civilization because of scholars. And it is exactly the same reason why it's difficult with the Chinese. A lot of players that I watch playing the Delhi Sultanate will invest excessively into scholars in the early game. And then they fall behind in other areas because the scholars are kind of, they're a gold sink, a wood sink.
Down under. Thank you very much, pal.
Fadden299 coming in as well with the Prime Gaming. Fadden, that's a great name. I used to live near a suburb called Fadden, and it was a great suburb. But yes, so the Delhi Sultanate are in that same category where it's like, what do you spend your resources on? Do you spend them on scholars? Do you spend them on another town center? And I don't think people have worked that out. They haven't worked out the optimal way to play them, and as a result, it means that they sit, once again, lower on this tier list. The reason why the Rus and the French and the Abbasid are all up here is because it's very straightforward when it comes to how you play these civilizations. It's very easy to understand, easy to interpret. You watch other players, you're going to pick it up very quickly. But there is so many minute details for these two civilizations down the bottom, which leave... It's going to be civilizations that really need a lot of mastery. And to some extent, the Mongols as well, though the Mongols have definitely been figured out quite a lot more than these two. And just simply because I think they're so unique that we do see people going for them a lot more. But primarily, it's these two civilizations and their complexities and their and the opportunity cost that you've got from their bonuses that really puts them down in this tier. So finishing up, or in conclusion for this video, just remember, this is a tier list and it's subjective, okay? You might watch this video and think it's the wrong way around, and that's okay, because this is my opinion. So you might have a different opinion, but you know, if you're watching this on YouTube, I ask that you don't dislike the video because you don't agree with it. I encourage you instead, leave a comment. Let me know what you think you would have done differently. Other than that, I'll make sure that I give the Twitch guys some time to say goodbye to you guys, because I know that they're always a bit jealous of their big brother over there, their cleaner big brother, the ones who got showered. But look, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a bit of a long video, but telling YouTube not to dislike, says Mr. Merlin. Oh, it's not like I'm telling them not to dislike. If you didn't like the video, like, go ahead and dislike it. But like, you got to remember that, like, this is just your opinion, man. Yeah, this is just my opinion. That's exactly it. All right, YouTube. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.